I'm Joyce Bassi and I'm presenting on the Basin evaluation of the TBB field OML 117 Southeast Niger Delta. These are my team members Ekefe Ayanime and Achibong Itemuwen. During the course of this evaluation, all petroleum systems were encountered and we had gas and oil as the hydrocarbon, one play which is the upper Miocene. The trap styles are a combination of stratigraphic and structural traps. The presentation outline spans from the introduction to conclusion and recommendations. The purpose of this project is to explore the hydrocarbon potential and feasibility study of the TBB field to identify potential prospects and reserves and also recommend future exploration and appraisal work in the area. These objectives were achieved using the following steps. The workflow ran from the data loading to the seismic interpretation and the summary of results, conclusion, and recommendations. Our study area, which is the Niger Delta Basin, is located in the South Atlantic within latitude 4 degrees north to 6 degrees north and longitude 3 degrees east to 9 degrees east, with a distance of 50 kilometers from Port Harcourt and an average water depth of 30 meters. The basin type is an extensional rift. History and development began in 1966 when the field was discovered by Shell and British Petroleum. Then in 1994 we had the drilling of appraisal wells, and in 1996 oil production commenced. From our research so far, we have been able to establish that there have been successful exploration in the past, all infrastructures are in place, and there are still more prospects to be identified. Our only environmental concerns are oil spillage and protection of wild and marine life. Analog fields surrounding our study area are the L.G.A field, the Oso field, and the Kalekule field. Discovered in 1966, 1965, and 1967 respectively. The deepest well drilled in the Oso field has a depth of 9,864 feet with a productive age of Miocene. The traps are the faulted anticlinal traps and the stratigraphic traps. The results found are 2 trillion cubic feet of gas and 400 million barrels of oil equivalent. Evolution in the Niger Delta Basin began in the Triassic when we had the breakup of Panja and the rifting of the South American plate from the African plate, which led to the opening of the South Atlantic Ocean. Then we had the regional subsidence during the late Cretaceous and invasion, followed by sediment influx from the Eocene, which brought about the stratigraphic evolution of the Niger Delta Basin, which is divided into three lithostratigraphic units. We have the Akata Formation, the Akpaden Formation, and the Benin Formation, all deposited from the Eocene to present. They have 5 depot belts in the Niger Delta Basin, and our study area, the TBB field, is in the shallow offshore depot belts. This is a map showing the location of our study area in the offshore depot belts of the Niger Delta Basin. The basin has a fully integrated Cenozoic petroleum system, and the Niger Delta Basin is a world-class hydrocarbon province. The Niger Delta Basin is divided into two structural provinces. We have the extensional province and the compressional province. The study area, which is the TBB field, is in the extensional province, and the structural plates present there are the regional growth faults and rollover anticlines. For a petroleum system, it must have the key concepts, which are the reservoirs, the trap styles, the seals, and the source rock. The Niger Delta Basin reservoir is the upper Miocene sand, the trap style is the fault closure traps and stratigraphic traps, the seal is the Akwa Ibom shells, and the source is the Akata Formation. The data sets provided are the 3D seismic data, well logs, deviation data, check shot data, pressure reports, and biostratigraphic reports. The seismic volume is a 3D seismic data with an area coverage of 74.6 kilometers square, with a time range of 0 to 3,998 milliseconds. This is our well logs represented on the seismic. From our realization of the seismic volume, it improves the quality of the seismic and also improves ease of navigation. The seismic quality is a good one and the volume attributes are listed. There were 23 wells included with one pressure well, two check shot well, and one bow stratigraphic. The wells with the green and haze are available and have adequate logs. The wells with green but no haze are available but inadequate logs, while the wells with the red are not available. The analysis of our source rock, according to Odumodu et al. In the year 2011, shows the age is Eocene with a thickness of 6,000 feet and the kerogen type is type 1 to 3. Here is a map showing the lateral extent of our source rock, indicating it to be the top of the oil kitchen. The light green is the Akata Formation and the deep green is the Agbada Formation. Migration of hydrocarbon from the source rock, which is the Akata Formation, uses the growth fault and shell diapers as the migratory path to the Miocene reservoir, and the migration is dominantly short range and vertical. The reservoir is deposited in a deltaic environment with a porosity of 20 to 40 and an average net thickness of 100 feet. This is a reservoir in the Agbada Formation as shown here. The trapping mechanisms found are the stratigraphic combination of the stratigraphic faults and normal faults with rollover anticlines. The event chart of the petroleum system shows the deposition of the source rock, the reservoir rock, the seal rock, the trap formation, the overbody rock at critical timing related to the geologic age. At this point, I will call on my co-speaker to talk on the technical interpretation. Thank you.
I will be presenting on the technical interpretations. The sedimentary packages suggest that the sands here were deposited in a pro-deltaic environment. Four reservoirs were correlated across the wells, and large resistivity strikes. These large resistivity strikes indicates the presence of hydrocarbons in the correlated wells. The sequence stratigraphic correlation shows that there are three sequences present in the Agbada Formation, which is late Miocene in age. The shallow reservoirs are low stand reservoir species of the second sequence, and the deeper reservoirs are that of the first sequence. For the petrophysical analysis, we calculated the porosity, water saturation, the net to gross, and the result of that calculation gave us that our reservoir, well, TBB 13, had a low water saturation of 0.056%. The reservoir B, well, TBB6, had a water saturation of 0.057%. Reservoir C and reservoir D had low water saturation in, well, TBB12. The pay thickness for reservoir A, as the pay thickness present in the reservoir A is the gas pay thickness. It has no oil pay thickness. The reservoir B has gas pay thickness with no oil pay thickness. The reservoir C, well, TBB12 has gas pay thickness, and, well, TBB 10, 13, and 1 has oil pay thickness. The reservoir D had no gas pay thickness, but, well, TBB 10, 13, and 8 had oil pay thickness. At this point, I'll call on the next presenter to take the seismic data interpretation.
I'll be taking the seismic interpretation down to conclusions. We correlated our synthetic to the field seismic using the check shot data from TBB3 and shared to, well, TBB8, and we were able to generate a good tie between our field seismic and our synthetic seismic. And this is the uninterpreted seismic and the interpreted seismic. We're able to carry out seismic reconnaissance and we identify pinch out and bright spots and also some gas caps. Then we also identify a collapse in the northwestern side of the field. And also the fault style included the growth fault which trend northwest-southeast direction. And in the seismic stratigraphy, we were able to identify the three sequences which were identified in the log, which my colleague said previously. And these are the low stand facies, the high stand transgressive facies, and the maximum flooding surfaces, all in the late Miocene Agbada Formation. In the seismic lithostratigraphy, we identify four subcycles of deposition, which is also shown in the sedimentary packages in the logs. And we had our collapsed sediment bounded by a growth fault and another growth fault trending north, west, southeast direction. And the paleo-environmental synthetics for our field, after all our analysis, we were able to identify the mid to outer neretic environment and inner neretic shelf environment with our low stand prograding wedges. A quick look up on the shallow reservoirs, we were able to map the top of the ABC reservoir and also the base, and the oil water contact at 9,000 feet shows some condensate volatile oils, and dimming bright spot observed on the reservoir sands. From our map seeded horizons, we were able to generate the time map for the C reservoir and the fault framework displayed on it. Using our depth conversion, we generated a depth map for the C reservoir, and you can see good fault closure, four-way fault closures. And with seismic attribute extraction, we extracted the root mean square amplitude, and the amplitude conformed to our structure, which suggests presence of hydrocarbon in the sea sands. Also, to further ascertain the presence of sands in the sea structure, we generated a minimum amplitude which gave us low impedance in the anticlinal structures. Okay, for the depth map and the contact, we had three contacts at P10, P90, and also P50 was gotten as mid contact between the P10 and P90. And the well intersections with the seismic is being displayed. For the deeper reservoirs, which is the G and F sands, we were able to map the top and the base, and we encountered some oil shoes in which they were trap failures, and that brought about the escaping of our hydrocarbon from the F sands. And we also identified some sound pinch out at the D sand along the seismic section. Okay, for the time map, we mapped the seeded horizon at 10 milliseconds along the seismic section, and we generated the time map for the D reservoir, and also converted the time map to the depth and generated a root mean square amplitude. And you can see in the D reservoir, which are the deeper reservoirs, you can see presence of turbidite sand in which are scattered along the anticlinal structures. And also the root mean square amplitude also suggests that the sands are more shelly in this other side of the field. Also generated the depth map with contours of P10, P90, and the mid contour of P10. And also the P10 contact was highlighted from the seismic. Here is the P10 contact, and the four polygons were displayed showing a four-way closure. From our petroleum system element, we were able to carry out a risk analysis incorporating the source rock reservoir, the trap, and the seals. And we were able to give a chance of success of 60% for our reservoirs. In the dry hole analysis, I was said earlier, the well TBB6 was diverted to the collapse in which we talked about, and you can see that we have hydrocarbon shoes, but there are no trapping mechanisms to trap down the hydrocarbon, so it has escaped vertically. Also, for the volumetric estimation, we used the methodology here and calculated the depth and the area to get our gross rock volume. In the volumetric estimation, we were able to calculate a volume of 98 million barrels of oil equivalent for the sea sands, and also 40 million barrels of oil equivalent for the D sands. And in conclusion, the hydrocarbon discovered in the field included gas and oil, and they occurred in the upper Miocene plate. The strapped oil included the anticline, rollover anticlines, pore closure, and stratigraphic traps. In recommendation, we recommend that adequate logs should be provided for the remaining wells, in order for us to integrate this evaluation and identify prospects and tie the informations to our mapped horizons. And also, we recommend that the drilling in the field should take cognizance of the Akwa Ibom shell interval to avoid blowout, and also consider transferring processed hydrocarbon from the TBB field to the Boni terminal for export. In acknowledgement, we wish to thank NAPE for giving us this platform to build our capacity through this competition. And also, we appreciate the NAPE University Assistant Program for organizing the Basin Evaluation Competition. And we thank the Vice Chancellor of our university, Head of Department, staff of Geology Department, Akwa Ibom State University, for their support all through this competition. We also acknowledge ExxonMobil and Slumberger for donating the workstation and software we use in this interpretation. And also to our volunteer industry mentor, Dr. Mola Mohammed, we thank him for his technical assistance, and also the technical judges and the school that participated. We thank you all. Thank you.